Robert Bourgeault and Lighting Lead. Basically, you just establish the lighting look for various sequences throughout the film, and you try to choreograph your team so that they can best make that happen. In this particular film, the challenge was to create realistic lighting to match the plates. So we had to try to mimic the set lighting, or in this case, just the outdoor sunlight and the interior lighting of some of the shacks and spaceships. But we had to do it with really precise accuracy so that it looked authentic to fit in the film. We couldn't really do any beauty lighting, you know, where you can make something look good, because if it doesn't match the plate, then it doesn't work for the film. So there was a lot of attention paid to just making the creatures fit in the film. If you don't notice that something's wrong, then you've done your job right. So hopefully that's the case. There's grads that I graduated with that I've worked with. It's great because I haven't worked with them, like James. I think it's really interesting to see people kind of graduate around the same time, and then they go off and they follow a path, and then it kind of takes them to where they want to go, and then you end up coming full circle at some point. In this case, 10, 12 years later. I mean, I didn't really keep in touch with James that much, but to have the opportunity to work with him so closely on this film was awesome. It was just a great experience. And I kept in touch with Sean throughout the years, but I didn't really have too many opportunities to work with him. So it was kind of a great experience to finally, you know, after all the talk and keeping in touch, to finally work together. And as far as some of the newer students, I think it just showcases the kind of talent that's becoming available to studios now, specifically in this city. Everybody has their own inspiration in a way, you know, the new people, the ones that have put in 10 years, and it's good to see. We were in the program at its earliest stages, and I think the program hadn't been developed totally the way it wanted to be. I think we were kind of probably a test case, and to help evolve the program into what it is now. So it was great to be a part of that. It was a good experience. It was short, a lot of work. It did the job. I mean, it got me a job out of school. It was a great foundation, and it definitely prepared me for what I'm doing now. Well, out of Vancouver Film School, I was lucky enough to get hired by Square USA, and I worked on Final Fantasy, which was a fairly groundbreaking film. After that, I think it probably had to do more with luck that I got hired at ILM. It was just a really weird time. It was kind of when the .com bust was happening, and there just was not a lot of work, and I was kind of sitting around patiently waiting for something to pan out, and then I eventually got a call. I waited long enough and almost went to work for a .com company, and but I decided against it, and ended up working at ILM on a couple different films, Big Trouble, the remake of Planet of the Apes, Men in Black 2, and Episode 2. And then after that, it was a little bit of sidestepping through different studios, Centropolis, when they were finishing up Matrix Reloaded. And then I've spent a couple of years at Asylum, and I was able to work on a couple of nominated films, Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, and that was kind of nice to have that experience. Other than that, I did some work on Sky Captain, The Road Tomorrow. That was really unique. And from a lighting standpoint, it was probably one of the most creative lighting roles, because we could basically invent our palette the way we wanted to do it. And it had a very film noir kind of feel to it, where you could paint a lot of pictures with shadows and things like that. So that was really fun from an artistic point of view to work on that film. I worked on a couple of animated films, like Valiant in London, England, for Vanguard Animation. And then I went to Sony Imageworks and did some work on Open Season and Monster House. So kind of moved around from live action films to animated films. I don't really have a preference, but kind of whatever seems interesting. And now I'm here. It's different than when I was here 10 years ago. It's definitely a more happening place to be. If you compare it historically, it's definitely becoming a more exciting, vibrant place, and it's certainly becoming a more interesting place for film and post-production and effects. figure out what you're best at as soon as possible, because I know a lot of programs are probably geared around preparing yourself in a well-rounded way, which is good, because it kind of gives you a foundation and understanding of everything. But I think it's also important to focus on what you're best at as soon as possible and then capitalize on that, because ultimately what you're best at is what you're going to enjoy doing the most, and that's what's going to get you hired. And there's going to be plenty of opportunities in the future to learn different things at different studios and allow you to branch off and do those things. But if your goal is to get hired out of school, then people always want students that are really good and talented at what they do.